preparing your body for winter. Preparing for seasons is really important, and in today's video I'm going to talk about how we can best prepare our body, not just physically but emotionally, and what are some of the more sort of emotional, mental things and lifestyle stuff that we can do to prepare our body in that transition from autumn or fall to winter. So welcome back to the Chinese Medicine Podcast. If you're new and you haven't subscribed yet, you're new to the channel, please click the subscribe button. If you find this info valuable or helpful in any way, leave a comment. I'd love to get to know you a little bit and find out what kind of questions you'd like to ask about Chinese medicine. So always feel free to put your questions in the comment. I'll do my best to answer them. So I'm a herbalist and an acupuncturist, and in my day-to-day practice, I see patients obviously come in most of the time for things that are wrong with them. But there's a lot of stuff that Chinese medicine can do to help us prevent. And that's what I like to do on this channel, is to talk about prevention. So when we talk about winter, we're going into a big transition. So the biggest transitions in life you have in seasons is winter and summer, right? Winter is preceded by fall or autumn, which kind of lets us know that winter is coming. If you're a bit of a fan of Game of Thrones, you'd know that phrase. And you've got to prepare for winter much more than you kind of prepare for summer, right? Because traditionally, this is a season where if you don't prepare, you're going to really suffer. Whereas in summer, you can get away with a little bit of stuff that you can't really get away with in winter. So in this video, I want to take the opportunity to talk about the metal element and the water element and some of the more mental, emotional and lifestyle stuff that we can attribute to those elements and think about how we can change our life and help our body through those changes. And these are things you can do for free. It don't cost you any money. There's stuff you can do for free. So let's talk about metal firstly. So metal relates to the large intestine and it relates to the lungs. And what is the commonality between these two organs? Take a big breath in, and as you breathe out, you're letting go. Now, chances are you probably let go downstairs at some point today, or you will do that. And that's our bowels kind of letting go of all literally the shit in your life, right? Literally that stuff. But it's also relating to letting go of stuff that might just be, like, we use that as a phrase in Australia. I'm not sure if that's what you use where you're from, but you know, letting go of stuff that you need to let go of. And that's a big connection between metal. So metal helps us to let go, and autumn or fall is a great season to do that in. So if you're preparing for winter, letting go of the stuff you don't need would surely help you to have less encumbrance in winter. You can probably hear the rain, right? This is why I want to make this video today, because I feel like winter is coming where I live. It's very chilly kind of, you know, and it's just the last day of May today when I'm making this video. So in Australia, winter comes around the 21st of June. That's when it should arrive, right? Some people say the 1st of June, but that's not really actually true. So, you know, if you're on the other side of the world, you're probably thinking the opposite of this in the US and UK and things like that. It's coming into your summer. But you might be watching this at another time. So I make these videos in perpetuity that people can watch them whenever they want to. So letting go is important. And so how can we do this? What are some things you can do for yourself? So I would look around, and recently I was inspired by a business person that I follow that said something like this. He said, everything you have is either an asset or a liability. And that was Grant Cardone. I follow his stuff from time to time, and I really like his encouraging messages that he puts into his videos. And that's true for us in terms of the metal element, right? Things are either an asset or a liability. If it's you know, an ornament that's on your, I don't know, mantelpiece or wherever it is on your shelf, it's either an asset or a liability. It's just something that's extra there, that's gathering dust, or it's something that brings you joy. It's something that you love to do. You know, and you might have followed that clearing clutter person. I forget her name, but that was one of her things, right? Bringing joy. Like, does it bring joy to you? And decide that, and if it doesn't, then get rid of it. And we kind of have to do that for ourselves. And the less you do this, the harder it can be. And if you have an encumbrance in your metal element, like you have something going on there, then this could be really hard for you. Now, an extreme version of that would be like something like hoarding, where people can't let go. And they find it very painful to let go. There's a lot of grief associated with letting go. And strangely enough, grief is related to the metal element as well. It's the emotional connection, sadness, loss, and grief. So those are kind of similar, but also different emotions. So if you're watching this and you think, yeah, Marie, I'd love to be able to let go, but that sounds easy and it's really hard every time I do it. I just can't get myself to do it. But you want to. You could see an acupuncturist to kind of help you with the emotional release that might need to happen there. That's something that acupuncturists do very well. It's kind of a weird little thing. Now, there are other therapies that do this, like emotional freedom technique and things like that are like tapping into your body's emotional, the stuckness of emotions that are there, right, and dealing with that. Even some people find massage therapy can help with that. So some kind of physical treatment on your body is sometimes needed to help like release that emotional stuff that's there. Now, how can foods relate to this? Sometimes your lungs are really sort of literally bogged down by the preceding elements. So you have wood, fire, earth, metal, right? Earth generates metal. So earth might not be able to generate metal, and earth relates to our digestion. So being overweight, for instance, and being encumbered by that weight can sort of, all people that are overweight will have more trouble breathing, right? More trouble getting up the stairs, have easy shortness of breath, something like that. Literally letting go of some of that baggage, of letting go of some of that weight. Now, I know it's not as easy as it sounds, like it's hard work letting go of weight. That is something that you should probably plan to do in conjunction with your practitioner, right? If you're if you're not sure what to do, or it's been very hard for you, or you've got other health problems going on and you're not sure how to go about what diet or what sort of protocols to do. But simply walking and getting your body moving is going to help. If you walk every single day, now I know this for a fact because this is what I did last year myself. I did a thing called 75 Hard, and all I did was walking. I did 2 45-minute walks a day for my exercise. I wasn't very fit at that time, and I just did the walking, and I was able to keep doing that. And I did that sort of an hour and a half in 2 different sets, no matter what, for 75 days. And I didn't really push myself to like walk very fast some days. Like if I had the energy to do that, I would do that. But I wasn't like trying to run a marathon in those walks or anything like that. I was just simply walking. And that can be something you can do as long as you've got legs that work and you don't have too many other encumbrances in that way. If you really struggle to walk, another thing you could do is walk in the pool. Do this in consultation with your practitioner and make sure that you don't overstrain your body. Because in Chinese medicine, we tend to err on the side of like, let's prevent things from happening as best as we can. There's no point in thinking, oh, but I need to lose all these calories, and then boom, you've hurt your ankle, and then you can't do any more exercise after that. So go at a pace that works for you. But letting go is a big part of metal, right? Now, the other aspect of metal in your lungs is your breathing. So anything you can do to help your breathing is going to help your metal element. It's going to help prepare you for winter. How will it do that? Because most people get encumbered in winter by colds and flus. And the stronger your metal element is, the more it's able to interface with the environment and not get sick in that way. So you want to how do you make your lungs stronger? Well, you remove the difficulty on them. So if you've got weight, like as we said, like if you're heavier, or if you sort of aren't breathing well and you breathe in your chest all the time, so your shoulders are rising, learning how to breathe from your diaphragm is going to be really important for you. So getting back to letting go, I would go around your house and look at things that you just don't need. If you can easily eye off things and think, you know what, I don't need that anymore, that thing's broken, either repair it, get it fixed, and it'll become an asset, or get rid of it because it's a liability. If it's just there just to gather dust, that means you have to go around and clean that thing to gather dust. Now, you might have ornaments and stuff that you enjoy and they mean something to you. I'm not talking about those things. I'm not talking about things that have a purpose, even if that purpose is something meaningful to you. Now, if you're a hoarder and you've just got so much meaningful stuff and you're like, oh, this little half a pencil that, it's got some little chews on the end from one of the kids I had, you can't keep all those pencils. That can be really hard to let everything go in that way. But if you can go around and sort of inventorize things that you need to fix, maybe put them aside so that you can get them fixed, or work on repairing them, that kind of stuff. This whole I'll get around to it thing. Oh, I'll get around to it. that has that time ever come. So make some space and some time to do that. And if it's not worth your time to fix it, then get rid of it. It can actually bring joy to somebody else. You can give it to a thrift shop, an opportunity shop, and an op shop, we call them in Australia, and you'll be able to benefit. Someone else will be able to benefit from that thing. You could sell it, make some extra money, right, and buy something else that you really do need. Put it on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or something like that. So that can be cathartic in itself. One is because it's making room for something else. Now there's some empty space there, and like one of the aspects of metal from a personality type. This is a little bit more off to the side here, not strictly purely TCM, but that appreciation of beauty and architectural design and being able to see a beauty in the negative space, right? So in art, we think about negative spaces like having, if you've got a white canvas or a black canvas, just having it with nothing there, right? It's not like every single thing is so full and so busy. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow your mind to have more space to rest because there's not a lot of stuff going on. Have you ever gone into a house where there's literally hardly anything going on? It might be a display home or something like that. And it feels very cold because there's literally not much going on there, right? There might be just one couch. And I know some people that just don't buy any furniture or anything, and you kind of echoes in their house, and you're wondering whether they just moved in, and you ask them that, oh, I've been here for several years, and they just don't really need any much stuff to sort of feel comfortable. So I'm not talking about having it so spacious that it doesn't feel comfortable to you, but if there's so much clutter or there's so much stuff everywhere, it can be really noisy. It's not making a physical noise, that stuff isn't jumping up and doing anything, but it's occupying your mind, right? Use this as an exercise. I do this from time to time. I have a massive desk that I use to, well, not massive, but a big desk that I use to do my editing. And what will happen is over time, things will accumulate on that desk, right? Oh, things I need. I might need this because I brought it over to the desk. Oh, some moisturizer for my face or some hand cream, or, it's got nothing to do with what I was doing on the desk really. And then that stuff kind of accumulates there. So what's nice, and especially papers, right? I'm a big fan of writing stuff on papers, right? So I write my little notes, I write songs, I've got things written down. I'm like, oh, I can't throw that out. Might have a few chords on there that I might need. So it's very cathartic. Sometimes I will just scoop it all up and put it in a box somewhere else or put it in a plastic bag just for that moment. So my desk is clear, right? I might not even have the headspace to sort it all out. And then you do have to sort everything out. The more you practice this, the better it's going to get, right? Now, I know this because I came from a household that valued creativity. My mum never really taught me how to clean up anything well. She made us clean our rooms and things like that. So I've had to kind of teach myself to throw things away and manage that because it's a character trait that I don't want to become a massive hoarder and just not be able to let everything go. The more often you move house, for some people, that can be very cathartic, right? And even just the thought, like once I had to move house and I'd been in that place for a long time, and not just my house, but my business. And it was huge. Like there was so much stuff, and I was like, oh, I need all this stuff because it did have a purpose, but it wasn't being purposed right at that time. And especially when you've got a business and you're like, oh, I've invested money in all these product boxes and they haven't sold yet. Do I keep them? They might become popular one day, that kind of stuff. So in the place where you're at, identify some things that you can get rid of, some things that you can let go of. So that's in the physical space, right? Stuff you have. It might be going through your clothes. It might be going through things and just, sometimes you're like, oh, this has got a hole in it, or this has got, I just don't wear this that often, that kind of stuff. That's one thing you can do. The other thing you can think of is, what do I need to let go in my social world? Are there people that are toxic around me? Now, I'm not a big fan of just being mean to people and snubbing them, but it could be on social media. Like sometimes there's things that you see that just rile you up, and do you think, do I need to be riled up by that? Like you can just unfollow those people and not see those things all the time, or just not go on there and see that stuff, right? Are there things that are cluttering your mindset that you're exposing yourself to? Either these are through people, very draining people, VDPs, these kind of things. Now, I'm not saying disown your own sister or your mother or something like that, but sometimes you have to come to a place of putting boundaries in there, or finding, like, literally searching out new friendships and new relationships and looking for people that are going to benefit you, and you're going to benefit them. There's going to be a mutual exchange there, rather than it being a one-way street where you feel like, oh, I'm always being drained and giving and there's nothing beneficial to me. So that's one other aspect. So in the social aspect. And the third way that I think we can let go in is also to let go of mindsets and ideas and things that are not helping us anymore. And this is probably the hardest one, which is why I left it to the end. It's easy to go around your house and go, oh, that's dusty or dirty or broken, or I don't wear that anymore, and throw those things away or give them away. But giving away something that you've, a kind of ideology or a thought process or something like that, and that can be hard. But the first step is to just be open to that sort of stuff and to think about what's your language around that, like what are you saying, and could you change that, right? So something that I learned a long time ago from people in the entrepreneurial space was, like, they said, oh, never say problems, only ever say challenges. And so I've always just talked like that. I never really say, oh, I've got this problem. I'll say, oh, I've got this. And you catch yourself in the act, oh, this is such a problem. But when you use that word challenge, it kind of infers that there's something good to come out of it, or what's the opportunity? What's the possibility? You could even say that, I've got lots of opportunities, right? All problems can be opportunities. So it's a tricky one, and you might need to go and have talk therapy, counselling, psychology, something like that, to help you through those things as well. But that can benefit us because we're being less encumbered. So you're going into winter lighter, right? Lighter physically, lighter load, right? Think about if you had to carry your stuff on your back, you wouldn't keep everything that you have, right? Like less encumbered. And then there's space. There's space for you to grow and for you to get new things and do different stuff, as time goes on. Probably not winter, wouldn't be the time to do that. That would be sort of springtime. But you're less bogged down for winter. Now, one of the things that also benefits the metal element is going into water, like metal transitioning to water, which is autumn to winter, is meditation and stillness. So that really is how water is nourished, and that's winter. So by not having the clutter and the things around you that are cluttering your life and cluttering you mentally, there's space there to be still. There's opportunity to be still, and you've got to promote that stillness. Now, if you're wired in the opposite way to that, you might be sort of like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need a lot of stuff going on, like, where's my little circus? Looking for entertainment and noise going on all the time and that kind of stuff. If this is a struggle for you to clear out your house, you're overwhelmed by it, just do one space, just do your desk and decide, I'm going to keep that desk clean, right? I like what Jordan Peterson says in one of his books. He's like, just pick one room and have that, like, you should at least have one beautiful room in your house that you enjoy being in, and it's aesthetically nice to you, and that's going to then benefit you. And you can go into that space to do your meditation in winter, to do your stillness practice, if you want to call it that. There's lots of different ways of doing meditation. I'm not very good at meditation. I don't really do it that often. But there are different ways to kind of use mindfulness, breath kind of practices. There's videos online from lots of different people in different styles that might suit you. So go and seek that stuff out. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably love YouTube, so you can search those things yourself. Wim Hof has some breathing exercises that you can do. And you can also do things like ice baths and stuff like that as well. Now that's kind of another level. And if you're not well, maybe don't start off with the ice baths, but you can still use the Wim Hof breathing aside from the cold showers and the ice baths and stuff like that. But those things can also be helpful in some way to consolidate. So we're going from autumn or fall metal into winter. Winter and water, the water element, is about consolidation, right? Keeping that yang down and nice and packaged and nice and strong. So you don't want to sweat too much in winter, and which is why it's good not to be overburdened by being too overweight in winter, because it's okay to put a bit of weight on. It's okay to kind of you wouldn't want to exuberate your, use so much exercise that you're opening your pores and sweating a lot in winter. That wouldn't be great. That's a very easy way to get sick in Chinese medicine, sick with colds and flus. So these are things that we can kind of do. And then as we get into winter, what kind of exercise would we do? More stretching. You could do walking. You can still do things like going to the pool or swimming and stuff like that. But just being very mindful that if you do open your pores and you sweat, you do not want to be attacked by the wind or be next to the wind or near any wind. Air conditioning, cold breezes, things like that. I always remember this. I knew about this when I first graduated Chinese medicine. I think I was either just studying it or I just graduated. And I used to go to the gym a lot then. I'd probably go 2 or 3 times a week and do a thing called Tai Bo, right? Body combat and all that. You sweat and sweat and sweat. And it was really good exercise. And I'd always have a shower at the gym after that. But it wasn't a cold shower. No one really talked about doing those things back then. It wasn't really a popular thing. But I was very much aware of the cold and the wind. And I'd parked my car sort of right at the front of the gym. And I was in a hurry that day, I think. So I would have come out of the exercise class, gone into the shower, put my clothes on. And I wasn't sweaty at the time, right? I wasn't all dripping in sweat. I'd had a shower. I was dry. And I walked out of the gym and it was freezing. It was freezing outside. Like it was like ice wind blowing. That's not very common for where I live in Perth. It was not expected. I think the sun had gone down while I was in the gym, and then I come out and I just had like a t-shirt on. Maybe I had a jacket on as well. But I remember rugging up and thinking, oh, wow, and trying to get to my car in this cold wind. And then I got this horrible like wry neck, like a stiff neck, like literally, when your neck's sort of stuck to one side kind of thing. It wasn't sort of as bad as that. That's like a torticollis, they call it, like, or a wry neck where your neck's sort of like that. That can happen, but it's sort of like, it was like, oh yeah, I can hardly move. And I was like, you sort of turn to do your rear view mirror and you can't turn your neck. You're sort of like, I was young then. I would have been, I don't know, 18, 19 or something, probably 20 maybe. And that was the wind invading you straight after exercising, because it was cold, because it was winter, and that's what happens. And sometimes you don't expect that you're going to be vulnerable, because you think, I'm strong and young and I can face the wind, and I wasn't a sick person or anything like that. But that can happen, and that can happen to anyone. Now, another way that commonly happens is you jump in the car after exercising, and you blast cold air on you because you're hot, because it's summer. That happens a lot, like getting a stiff neck in summer, because you're driving your car and you put the aircon on, but your pores are still open from being hot and sweaty. So that's just general Chinese medicine advice to avoid getting colds and flu kind of sick, or getting stiffness and tightness in your muscles. So be careful of the wind and the cold, but mostly the winds, right? The wind is the thing that's going to carry the cold in there. So hopefully this has been useful and helpful to you, to help you transition from autumn or fall into winter, and to have a better chance of surviving the winter and thriving the winter, right? And enjoying that, because winter is going to be a time of hibernation, a time of consolidation, and a time of stillness. So allow yourself to be able to do that. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, leave a comment, like and subscribe, and share the video if you feel that this is helpful to someone that you know, to help them have a better winter.